Transmitting to you from Old Heart Radio.
Prepare to have your bones chilled and your hairs raised. It's the WacArnold's Brothers Podcast.
Welcome home.
Recording in progress. All right. Well, now that we've gotten the blessings for this is episode 27. We're 3 away from a WacArnold's Brothers 30th episode. How do you feel about that?
You know, thank heaven it's number 27. That's what I gotta say.
Oh man, dude. And we like this was a good pick for this week's episode, I think, because the movie that we picked this week is equal parts like laughable at, you know, as well as like it's a pretty fun movie, I'd say.
Yeah, it is.
Like
it's like a 2005 edgier like update of something along the lines of Carrie, kind of, you know what I mean?
Definitely. So one of the things that like really kind of interested me about Tamara, which is the name of this movie, is that like you just said, it has these traces of like a whole bunch of things like Carrie. It has these like how do I say it? It has this like I Know What You Did Last Summer vibe.
Yeah, with like the prank gone wrong and stuff like that, or whatever.
And like, you know, you're trying to hush it up and everything, and like somebody comes back, and then also you know, I was really like curious. I was like, I bet this movie probably came out before Jennifer's Body. I didn't look it up.
Yeah, I did for sure.
But like I wouldn't be surprised if like somebody peeped this movie and like was basically like, I could like rewrite this a bit here and there and like do some things, and like, you know, maybe this influenced Jennifer's Body a little bit.
Yeah.
At that point, because Jennifer's Body was also like fairly similar to this.
Yeah, I really enjoy Jennifer's Body. So,
dude, same. Like I don't think that movie gets enough credit.
Exactly.
Know? Like it's a really fucking fun, scary story.
It is.
You know, and just like this one, like and I, you know, this movie kind of like dives you into a few different things. Like the opening sequence is all kind of establishing there's like some like, you know, witchy magical artifacts.
Oh, the credits.
The credits like lying around, and and so you're like, okay, so there's gonna be some witchcraft maybe.
I feel like, so speaking of this, I feel like even though we're so many episodes in, I've kind of noticed some of the things that we touch upon, and for a lot of these movies, we touch upon the quality of the credits, and I feel like we need to continue doing that. But yeah, like you said, it shows like different shots of like a witchcraft book and candles and goblets and statues, and just there's going to be some witchcraft going on.
Exactly, man. Like at some point, somebody was flipping some tarot cards, like, you know.
Also, real quick, I had never heard of this. The person that directed the movie before, his name's Jeremy Half, but apparently, if you remember this, he directed this. It was like a MTV like original movie called Surf Girls.
Oh my god, dude! No. That's a good. I could see the connection. You know, I could.
Jesus. But anyway, yeah,
this movie's chock full of like it immediately, as soon as you get kind of past this really edgy like witchy sort of like credit scene, you it basically like starts dating itself real fucking fast. Like, you know that this is like a 2005 like early 2000s movie.
Yeah,
the styles there, like
the outfits. Yeah.
But it opens like with this like, you know, super edgy scene of this girl, like this foxy lady, you know, like walking like up to her teacher basically. Well, I mean, not just like directly up, but anyway, it's like, you know, it's this sequence of like a hot student getting it on or macking on a teacher or flirting with the teacher, you know, and which is not, you know, it's been done, but it's super like, because you don't know where this movie is, like you have like a half a second of like, okay, is this just dropping you into something weird here? And then you're reassured, of course, that it is a dream sequence by the she's all that of the movie.
Because it shows her walk in, and you know, her and the teacher start kissing, and then he straddles her on the desk, and
dude, like straight up, like he like they look like they're just about to start plowing right on the fucking desk.
Yeah, and then you see this shot of all these students watching in from the window.
Yeah.
And then he backs up, and then all the students are on the desk, and they're basically making fun of her. And he's like, I could never love you or something. Yeah. It was all a dream. It was all a dream.
He's like, my God. What? Yeah. And so he wakes up, and then you wake up to the reality of like, you know, Tamara was having a sexy daydream at her desk while, you know, everybody judges the fuck out of her class, like everybody, like the people they introduced.
Because she is, you know, she's kind of like a more homely looking girl, you know. She's not that she's ugly, because the actress Jenna Dewan, who ended up like got famous with the movie called Step Up, where she actually met Channing Tatum and they were married for a while. Like, she is insanely beautiful, but in the movie they make her look like this homely little, you know,
very
nerdy girl.
Looking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like her hair is kind of all messy and slightly greasy. Like, you know,
yeah, exactly.
You know, and and that's what I meant by that. Like, she's all that thing. You know, like they definitely give off this like vibe of like, all right, this is like the nerdy, like ugly girl,
who's
like,
not.
Who's not ugly, like.
But yeah, we
Old Heart Radio doesn't call people ugly necessarily.
No. Okay. No. Because I am ugly, so I have no room.
Listen, for years and years, people have been like, why don't you do videos, man? And I'm like, because I have a face for podcasts. I'm like, you know, people don't want to see this. Anyway.
But yeah, we get some of the bullying pretty quick, because she drops her this witchcraft book, and one of the characters that we learn his name later, Patrick, picks it up and he's like, journey into witchcraft looks like it's been a bad journey.
Oh my God. Dude, Patrick is such a goon.
Dude, he has later on he has some of the most ridiculous fucking lines.
Oh, for sure. So there's like, so it goes like, and then from there it like drops you really close, like really into like a key element of the plot. Like the class gets dismissed, and then Mr. Natoli, Tamara's like teacher crush, gives her like the school paper or whatever that she writes for, and on the front is just like this big expose about her like uncovering steroid use at the school or whatever. And so you're just like, okay, well, so
he's like, congratulations, you're essay one. But don't you think if she wrote something like that maybe they wouldn't have released the name of the person that wrote it, because obviously they would face backlash.
That's what, I mean, dude. I was like, there's no way that this would have been like some advisor would have read it and been like, excellent front page material, like slap a name on there, like let's get this out there. They would have been like taken to like some other like, you know, some other means. This was like, I mean, it's just such like an obvious way of like putting, you know, a problem between an extra problem between her and the popular kids, you know,
which very quickly happens in like one of the funny scenes where she walks into the dressing room, and Keisha and her friends, like her group of friends, that this is the only time you see these other girls like walk up and start bullying her. I forget what she's like, watch out, it's one of those drug sniffing dogs or something like that.
Dude, it's so true. Like she like, and you're right. I didn't even think about that. Like this is the last time you see those like side characters that are her friends, which is so funny. But like,
because you think that maybe they're gonna like bully her for the whole movie, but no, she's gone, or they're gone. But you know, the thing that stood out about this character to me is that like they
they really introduced this like, how do I say it? This like knockoff Halle Berry here. Like she has like the same Halle Berry haircut.
Yeah.
Like she has like this
Yeah.
like it's just like the same look is being emulated there for like what
Totally.
peak Halle Berry like hot.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
And I was just like, I couldn't escape that. I was just like, what's this like C-list Halle Berry doing here?
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're right. Like they immediately set it up. So like she's like, it's just like boom, boom, boom. So you get witchy credits, you get classroom shit, then you get like, all right, Tamara's like hated by the school like the student body. The next scene after that is her being hounded by a like one of the chodes and another goon.
Yeah,
both of them. Yeah, and
but
they're gonna like beat her up or something. Like
before we talk about that scene though, real quick, so. Yeah, she gets bullied by Keisha real quick, but this other girl Chloe comes in and saves her. But before we get to the next scene, Keisha has another hilarious line that is. So in the rest of the movie, her acting's a little better.
Definitely.
But in this scene, the way she delivers this line, she's like, "Come on, ladies, we don't have time for these losers."
Come on, ladies. Yeah, dude, it's like she like really puts the emphasis on it. It's fucking redonkulous.
But then we jump to she gets cornered. Tamara gets cornered at her locker by Sean and Patrick, who are two of the main like antagonists antagonists in the movie.
Yeah.
And both super douchey.
They're super douchey, dude. Like they're super threatening, man. Like they like literally like look like they're gonna fucking like beat her up in the hallway there. And like this is where you obviously like their steroid or drug use, or well, Sean's I think is like the one that's most worried about it. But it's like this is like
he plays for the team. Yeah.
But like I just want to point out both of these goons look like they're in their like early 30s.
Yeah.
I kept thinking that was another thing. I was like, these guys are super seniors. Like that's going to be the twist at the end of this movie.
Oh, wow.
Is that these guys have been in high school for 2 years.
But yeah. So basically, Sean tells her that she's going down, quote unquote. And then Patrick even does like one of those like fake outs where he like goes towards her to startle her and then breaks her necklace and then calls her a trailer trash whore. So he's pretty good.
Day class A.
We forgot to mention though, actually something that's kind of important, that before they corner her by her locker, they actually try to chase her through the halls. But she runs back to Mr. Natoli's room, and we get this interaction where he kind of consoles her. He gives her one of his like this napkin with his initials on it to like wipe her tears, which comes into play later. But then she also kind of misreads the situation and tries to give him a kiss.
Yeah.
And he, very professionally is like, "What are you doing?" And Keisha sees this whole thing go down.
Yeah, that was an interesting dynamic, that they brought. Yeah, I really liked that it was like it wasn't like this, creepy older teacher pursuing a student. It was this, like
right,
I'm glad it was
which
the other
they could have done.
Yeah. But Natoli is actually shockingly like a pretty stand-up character this whole movie.
Yeah.
And it was like a really like it's a key scene because it like really builds that tension between those two again, and her like continue like her like you said misreading of that situation, which kind of escalates. And Keisha like kind of like dropping some eaves on that. She got definitely some fuel to use later, I imagine. But anyway, so then then there's like the weird threatening scene with the trailer trash whore shit, and then like it kind of you can connect some of the characters like Keisha and Sean and them get all connected.
Yeah, they talk about, we're going to do something about this.
Yeah, we're going to do so. Jesus Christ. Like they're immediately just like, we're going to fuck her up. We're going to fuck her life up. And then you find that Tamara goes back to like Riley's Repairs, I think it's called. And you kind of introduce the character of her dad, who shows up only a handful of times, but really leaves a bad taste in your mouth each time.
The first time he's kind of just a dick, he makes some line about how his day was shitty.
He goes, yeah, well, my day's been one fucking tea party.
Oh, yeah.
like completely unprovoked. Wow. She's not even in the room. She doesn't even say anything. He's just
But yeah, her home life isn't great because she lives like in this house above like a electronics repair shop. Yeah.
And again, it's just like a good good setting, a good sort of world building scene. But then it kind of goes back to the goon squad.
We also see that Mr. Natoli has his fiance or his wife Allison works at the school too. She's like a guidance counselor. And very quick we get a quick scene where she mentions that she might be pregnant.
Yeah, which is again kind of like becomes a bigger thing later. At this point you're just sort of like, okay, so they're expecting.
But like you said, we go back to the goon squad.
Yeah, Sean, Patrick, Keisha, and they're obviously like this is like them. They're starting to plot like what they're gonna do.
Yeah, totally.
They're like, we gotta take care of that loser or whatever and all that shit. Like, Oh, and also we forgot to mention that Natoli, I can't remember. Does he let his wife know about Tamara?
Yeah, he's like, Tamara has a crush on me, and Allison makes some line. Well, when are these little girls gonna realize that they can't compare with a real woman?
Damn, it's cringy.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
But so they don't really talk about like what this plan is per se, but we learn, Sean approaches this kind of this character who's obviously like the nerd character named Roger.
Yeah, Roger.
And they kind of have this like little scene where Sean's like, how about you come to my party? And Roger's apprehensive, and Sean's like, let's throw all that petty shit aside.
Yeah.
And then we get introduced. Chloe gets in. This is when we actually learn who Chloe is, the girl who kind of helped Tamara out earlier, and her boyfriend Jesse, who is the bro surfer type.
Oh, dude, so hard.
Who just moved to town and makes like some line about surfing. I forget what he says.
Yeah, but it was like such a cliche like setup.
Totally.
So like it's like not only does he make a mention about surfing, but he also makes a mention there's like no nightlife in this town.
Yeah.
Like we get it, Cali, bro.
Like
okay.
Later there's a line from Roger where it's like they straight up just made these people as like these cliche characters as possible. Dude. Because he's like the surfer bro, and then Patrick's like the tool bag,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Roger's, like you said, like the AV geek,
Yeah.
It's like,
but because we get we get the scene where Sean explains that he's having this party and he wants them all to come, and then Roger ends up being like, I'll go too, and then real quick Roger is like, well, do you still work at the AV center? But they leave it at that, so you don't know what's going on. You just something fishy's probably brewing.
Yeah. Then it kind of goes to another really creepy scene between Tamara and her dad, where her, like, she's like crying and laying in bed and stuff like that, and he's just like watching her while drinking a beer, like in her
little weird
space or whatever. Yeah, and he makes some sort of passing remark like why couldn't you? It was like something like, why couldn't you learn how to cook or something like that?
Yeah,
and it's just sort of like, the fuck is this guy?
He mocks her for the magic stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's like, out of all the shit you picked up from your mom, why couldn't you have learned how to cook?
I love that. That's like a thing that they try to introduce for some reason. Is that like Tamara learned some magical stuff, perhaps from her mother?
Yeah,
you have no frame of reference for at all.
Right. You only see like a picture of her, but
exactly.
Her dad also, goes off on this little spiel about how he tried to make things work with the mom, but sometimes love ain't enough, is what he has to say.
Sometimes be less of a deadbeat. Yeah. So and then it goes to like sort of Tamara's magic. Like she does have a legit fucking setup. It seems like she, one of the next scenes is like showing her lighting a candle, and then she pulls this rug back, and there's this like carved like.
Right.
I don't know, like sigil, like these sigils in the ground, and like I don't know, like it was definitely like she seems
next
legit.
level.
It's next level. It's not just somebody being like, all right, I'm gonna make this boy love me.
Right. Because she pulls out a picture of Mr. Natoli, which is kind of very creepy. It's a framed picture, and she's like, I'll make you love me. But yeah, she had, like you said, it's just all this like satanic shit. There's like I don't know what the other symbols are, but one of them is obviously a pentagram, but it's like, carved into the ground under the rug. She has, I don't know what this thing is called, but it's like a metal object where she's carrying it around and smoke's coming out of it.
Yeah. She legit has put some time and effort into this.
Yeah.
Her like witchcraft setup, like it's
pretty cool,
kind of impressive.
Because we learned that she goes to her big witchcraft book, and she wants to do the love binding ritual.
Yeah.
And she even starts it, and she does this whole ritual with some salt and water, the napkin, which is why I brought up the scene from earlier.
With Natoli's initials on it.
Yes. She tears out part of her hair. She uses candle wax, but she can't quite follow through with because she's making this whole chant, and as she's making the chant, we see Allison coming home, and there's like ends up being this little jump scare from Bill, but right as she's at the end of it, she's supposed to cut her hand, but she can't. She like wusses out, and she's even says a line where she's like, "Yeah, some witch."
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, I can understand. Maybe you're hesitant. It's whatever. But yeah, you're right. So like, I think one of the lines that she said, like, I just thought was really funny, like the way she said it was like, "I supplicate myself." Like,
yeah,
but there was kind of this cool jump. You're right. That jump scare did kind of work out because, as like that, like her ritual starting, you just see like Allison, entering the house into all these shadows and stuff like that. And so you're just like, is she gonna start controlling Natoli or something?
Right.
Like, what's about to happen here? So it was kind of legit. Some witch. Oh my god, dude. Yeah. And then it kind of goes to her getting woken up. Tamara getting woken up by a phone call. Perhaps Mr. Natoli on the line.
That's what she thinks.
That's what she thinks. And it's Bill, and he's like, I just want you to know, Tamara, I love you, and all this bullshit.
All this,
and he's like, mate, why don't you meet me at this hotel, this motel?
I need to see you. Yeah,
I need to see you. I want to spend. And he like the voice makes sure to like really get her pulled in at the end by being like, I love you, Tamara.
Because he also says something like, something that called back to their conversation from earlier in the day. And he's like, come meet me at hotel room 39. I want to spend the night with you. And she's like, it worked, thinking that her spell worked. But then we quickly learned that it shows Sean in a hot tub with Keisha, and which he didn't even try to alter his. Well, you know what I mean? Like, it's just him talking.
It was just him.
And she's like, "Oh, you're so evil," or something like that. But yeah, so this is like,
it's like every other line of hers is just that. It's like her gushing. It's like,
yeah. And then we kind of jump to. We see we're at a hotel now, and we see Patrick, Keisha, Sean, Keisha, and Roger. They're waiting for Patrick, who goes and gets 2 keys.
Oh my god! And there's this really cringy line while they're waiting for him, dude, where he's like, he says something to the effect of like, was like, you think. He's referencing how his friend basically takes freshmen there to bang them.
Yeah, which we learn more about later. But yeah, he's like,
Do you know what the line is off the top of your head?
I don't, but
Oh
it's
my
something
God,
like you would think with how many chicks he brings here or something like that.
It's so bad. It's like yeah, they're like the fresh anyway. So you get this frame of reference that like his Goonie friend, who I still suspect both of them are super seniors, so they may be 19 or 20 at this point. He's just like he brings like young freshman girls back to bang them in this creepy hotel room,
Yeah.
which is such a cliche, but also like, ew. You know what I mean? Ugh. Oh no. What is happening?
They make mention that there might be some exotic dancers.
Yeah.
And then Chloe and Jesse end up showing up, and they ask about the party. And here Sean has this little line where it's just a small party, but later on is the big blowout. And Patrick goes, "Patrick Palooza 5, baby."
Oh my God. And I will point out, dude, at this point, Patrick looks like a straight up C-list Ashton Kutcher from Punk.
Yeah, for sure. He does. Like the hat. Yeah.
He's got the hat, the trucker hat tilted. Like I don't know.
It's bad.
The style in this room is so peak 2005. It
really is
ridiculous.
So as they're like beginning to party, we also get intermixed shots in of Tamara getting dolled up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she rips out the page from her book. Then it goes back to the group, and the guys are taking shots. While the girls are drinking wine, and this is what I'm talking about, where Roger has this line that I don't know why they fucking did this, but it just sounds like they watched like Revenge of the Nerds or something. But he's like, that is one quality libation.
That was one of my favorite laughs in the movie because I was just like, what
Dude,
the fuck
amazing.
is that for?
Why? Like,
why? They just needed to give Roger another line. Like they're like, okay, man, we promised you a line in this scene. Like,
but it's just, of course, he has to delete like he's the nerd, you know, like
yeah.
a nerd can't say, "Oh man, that's a good shot" or something. You know what I mean?
yeah, he has to use his fancy big words.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Oh my God, dude. Okay, so yeah, all these cool kids, all the Goon Squad, they're getting all hopped up on Joy Juice, and they're setting up phase 1 of their plan.
This is yeah.
And then quickly you find that phase 2 it starts up, and phase 2 is like essentially, I believe it's Sean goes next door to the other room that they rented. It lays down like a little card and some flowers on the bed for Tamara when she arrives, and sets up like, you know, really unbeknownst to you at this point, but you kind of pick up on it. Like they've positioned a camera at the bed, like framed, you know, looking at the bed. There's like a TV, like they're all looking at a TV in the next room. Tamara shows up into the room next door to them or whatever, and you know, eventually kind of like happens upon this note that she thinks is from Bill.
Right.
And you know,
she hears which says, "Get undressed. I'll be with you in a minute."
Dude, it's just like, exactly. Dude, it's like, what is happening right now? And you know, she thinks that somebody's in there though, because there's like a shower running and stuff like that.
Real quick, before you continue, so this idea was set up by Sean, Patrick, and Keisha. All right, so
yeah,
Chloe, Roger, and Jesse have no idea what's about to unfurl.
Yeah, they don't know they don't fully know what's going on as they see
it's just some
Tamara
stripper.
Yeah, as they see Tamara getting naked or getting down to her lingerie. Yeah, exactly. They think it's like a stripper. Jesse's like really into it. He's like, "Whoa, this is like a wild night!" And like, there's this like weird shot of
a party.
Yeah, there's this weird shot of Chloe just kind of going like with this like slightly disapproving, but like, "Okay, guys," kind of look. Like, here we are. I'm just in a room full of bros watching some fucking stripper. Like, she was accepting, but also very judgmental.
Right.
Anyway,
but we quickly learned it's not a stripper.
No, because and this is fucked up, dude. You know, Sean comes out of the shower or whatever after, you know, Tamara's in bed in her underwear. And he just like takes the camera and like starts like, you know, pointing it directly at her, like laughing at her. He like, as she tries to cover up, she's like pulling the blanket off of her and stuff.
Like, you whore and all this shit.
Yeah, and he's like calling her a whore in the meantime and stuff. It's like, oh my god, dude, so fucking so like cringy, man.
You too, thank you.
Yeah. Like he calls her like a fucking loser and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's just basically belittling her and mocking her while he's also exposing her, and it's pretty vile. And then you know, she kind of busts out of the motel room because at this moment, like Chloe in particular is like in next door being like, wait, what the fuck, you know? Yeah, like where's she at? I want you to know. Yeah,
and so Tamara busts out of her room. She kind of stumbles and falls on the asphalt and turns to see Chloe like standing in the doorway with, you know, which leads to the other party scene, and that's when
because Tamara instantly is like, how could you, or something like that,
like you've betrayed me,
and then Bull rushes her.
Yeah, dude, like straight up. I was waiting for a Goldberg spear there, but
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, she like bull rushes her, and then, you know, starts like she basically gets Chloe on the bed and starts like, you know, swinging on her and stuff. And this is when she gets like pulled off, and
like Jesse tries intervening but kind of gets scratched.
Yeah,
and then Patrick is the one that ultimately has her in a headlock at one point.
Dude, yeah, like he like gets her up and like puts her in a fucking chokehold. You know, he's like, and that's you know, this scuffle kind of leads from, you know, this sort of hold to Tamara getting like somehow shoved out of his arms.
I think she might have bit him.
Oh, that's right. That's right. She totally does. She bites him, and then he like freaks, you know, and then as she kind of is falling, she like fucking $1 Million Baby donks her head on something, and I guess $1 Million Baby broken neck donks her head on something, and like, you know, then there's this like really cool, actually I'll say this, cool shot through like the video cam, quote unquote, like, you know, lens or whatever, of like her like head just kind of like, you know, in frame, and then like the blood. I really appreciated that they kind of really did a good job like kind of letting the blood find some motion and like look like it's actually spilling out of her head, and like it was actually a cool shot. I just wanted to say.
So yeah, because of this douchey fucking revenge prank, she's now dead.
Yeah, thanks Sean and Patrick. So she's dead, and then this is where the whole like I know what you did last summer vibe comes in, because they're like oh my god, like legitimately, like there's even one character, Roger, who's worrying about how this will affect his college and stuff like that, you know, which is like one of the characters, and I know what you did last summer was like that too. So it's like that's why like it was just like,
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
they're just trying to like hush up that vibe, and they're trying to like.
Yeah,
you know, like trying to figure out how to deal with this. It's one of those scenes
where, you know, one of them wants to go to the police, but the other's like, well, this is going to ruin everyone's life. And Sean even at one point is like, well, I'll blame it on you and Jesse and all this shit.
Yeah. So basically what it comes down to is that like Jesse, Patrick, and Sean, Patrick, and Keisha. Well, Keisha's just kind of going with those two goons, but they're all on board for sure, not telling anybody, right? And then Jesse gets convinced, and then Roger gets convinced.
Jesse gets convinced because he brings up like physical evidence, like
like
there's
she scratched me
under my
skin.
fingernail. Yeah, exactly.
And then so this they kind of like, because it's 5-1, they basically like tell Chloe she either goes with it or fucking goon Sean will use his video evidence to give. He's like,
I got evidence for my side of the story or something like that.
Yeah. So naturally,
Chloe's like, well, what should we do? And then we quickly learn what they're going to do.
Yeah. So then they decide to do, look, I think it's a good classic route, you know, go dig a hole, bury the body somewhere in the woods.
Yeah. And we get another quick, like, dream sequence here, because they're burying her in the ground.
Yeah,
Chloe kind of second guesses it, and then Tamara's body's disappeared, and she brutally rips out Sean's throat.
I love that shot, dude.
Yeah, it was a good shot.
It was.
Basically stomps Patrick's head in off screen, and then she like is going to advance towards Chloe, and then Chloe wakes up like, you know, out of this nightmare, and she's crying, and so you learn that whole part was a fake out.
Dude, that dream sequence got me again in this too, because I was just like, oh shit, is it just kicking off right now?
I thought so too. But no, it takes a little while to kick off because it jumps to the next day at class. They're taking a test, you know.
Nobody seems to be able to focus on it though, you know.
Right.
They got something else on their mind.
Yeah, because it shows Chloe kind of look around to everybody, but then she gets up, finishes her test early, needs to use the bathroom. She walks out, kind of bumps into somebody, and goes to pick up their stuff, and then haughty fucking Tamara walks in.
Yeah, it's no longer ratty little Tamara,
little meek Tamara. Now it's
like mini skirt Tamara. Right up in your motherfucker. Smoke show Tamara.
And she's even, not only is she different in her physical appearance, but also in the way she carries herself, because she walks in and she's like, she even makes this cheesy line where she was like, it was a rough weekend. I almost died getting here.
Oh my God, dude. I will say this, dude. Like, what'd you say? It's Jenna Dewan or whatever. She like, I really did appreciate how she changed, like how she like kind of carried the character.
Totally.
You know what I mean? It really worked. And that's something that like, it's either like, it either just doesn't pan out or it does work with stories like this. But I thought she did a good job kind of like altering her mentality and stuff like that.
Totally. Because Chloe, Sean, and Patrick and Jesse are in this class together.
Yeah.
So it's the four of them right now. They kind of see her. Class gets out. Tamara sticks around to talk to Bill, and she kind of mentions, you know, that sorry about the other day or whatever. I was just this, that, and the next thing. And then Bill asks her if she's all right. As you can see,
Mr. Natali, I'm better than all right.
Yeah, I'm perfect. So, and then after that, so everyone except for Roger's together now. They tell Keisha about Tamara still being alive, and that, you know, they can't believe it. And Patrick brings up, you know, some like maybe, you know, she does this magic shit. She's a witch, and Sean obviously doesn't want to hear it. Like
amongst everything going on, and like the fact that this person potentially is like, how'd they come back to life? Like your buddy's like, dude, she was into magic and shit, and you just immediately are like, no, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Like that, I would maybe listen a little bit, but yeah, he shoots him the fuck down, and that happens like a little bit later too. Like they just didn't want to believe him on it.
Yeah, until it was too late. Yeah,
yeah.
But here they're talking, and Chloe's like, you know, I'll talk to her. Mm-hmm. But then we get reintroduced back to Roger.
Yeah, dude. Roger boy. I feel bad a little bit for Roger. Like he didn't do very much to like stop any situation once it was rolling, but he very clearly was not wanting to be part of that situation.
Not at all. Yeah.
And, you know, so she, like you said, you kind of cut back to him, and he's hanging out in the AV club room or whatever. And like the video of Tamara getting her head smashed and like dying, starts playing on
all the screens. Yeah,
like it was cool. Like, and then he like starts frantically like trying to figure out like how to shut it down, and he's like, he's turning off certain things and still playing, and then he's like ripping out any VHS tapes that are possibly in any players, and you know he's tearing up the tapes and stuff, and then they're still playing, and you know it was kind of a cool sequence. But then it was then Tamara, like just out of nowhere, because he locks, like as soon as it starts playing, Roger locks the room and like tries to like figure out what's going on, and then Tamara just like appears behind him after a certain point.
Yeah,
which
just
was
pops out of nowhere.
Yeah, I was just like, holy shit. Like and you know, like the way that she kind of deals with Roger, it was really interesting. So like she obviously, like, not only is she brought back to life, but this kind of sequence sort of showcases some powers that she might have now. Totally. Where she's like, dude, like his, you know, she was describing and making him feel like,
because she touches his face at first.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's like the face touching thing. Like
But yeah, keep saying what you were gonna say.
Well, like, because she's taking her revenge, and the way she takes it out on Roger is just creative. Like she starts making him feel like the effects of being buried alive. Basically, like it's fucking nuts. Like, and so at one point, she makes him feel like he can't breathe or he can't scream because he has a mouth, like it's just his mouth is full of dirt,
spitting up dirt. It
was so cool, dude. I was shockingly really I thought this scene was really cool, like because I was just like what a creative way of getting him. She also mentions like bugs squirming in it. This is the only part with like subpar CGI, but it looks like his arm is pulsating and then worms pop out of it, but it's all like in his head. Like it didn't actually happen. It's just she's making him see these things, which was really cool. Yeah. But then it takes a turn. It takes a fucking vicious turn because all of a sudden it goes back to the classroom. All these TVs pop on. Yeah. And we see Roger talking, but it's actually Tamara talking through them, but no one knows that. They just think it's Roger, and he basically confesses. He doesn't say what happened, but he basically says, I'm ashamed for what I did this weekend, and if anyone in the future, wants to stand back and refuse to see, hear, or speak no evil. And this part is gruesome because he cuts off one of his fucking ears, dude. Cuts through his own tongue. Yeah, it's with a box knife, and then Mr. Natoli tries to come stop him, but he's a little too late because he eventually breaks the glass and gets in. But at that point, Roger had already fucking stabbed himself in the eye. Yeah, and he was down. Yeah, it was good. That was a cool sequence. This is what I'm talking about, where the movie actually had some pretty good. And it happens more later with with what happens to Tamara's dad, but some of the practical effects were pretty good. Yeah, dude. I mean, this scene made me cringe so hard. Yeah, because of the pacing of it, dude. Like the pacing of Roger slicing his ear. It wasn't like he was like one slice and he's done. He's sawing through his ear, and same thing with his tongue. Yeah. And so it's just like it made you focus on it, and it made I'm getting cringy goosebumps thinking about it right now. Yeah, really, really well done. Really cringy, really gruesome. And I thought it was really cool, that shot of Tamara walking through the hallway, and she's speaking the lines that Roger's saying, and in the background they mixed the audio with Roger's voice also, and so you kind of that's how you establish that she's just controlling the conversation. She's got some powers. Yeah, it's actually a really cool scene. Yeah. So yeah, he's dead. The group's talking, and naturally they think he committed suicide, and there's something kind of small here that's cool, that Chloe mentions that maybe if they would have told him about Tamara, he wouldn't have done that, which little do they know, you know what I mean? Yeah. Well, and that's it's like, oh god, they're all so fucking 2005 and then Tamara edgy. Yeah, and then Tamara pops up, to confront them, and basically they try to apologize, but Tamara mentions that she doesn't want excuses. You know what I mean? I'm not that same insecure girl I used to be. Yeah, like you said, it's all this just cringy stuff where, Roger or Sean shoots down Roger's, witchcraft stuff again. So Tamara quickly comes up. Basically, there's at least 2 trucker hats in that scene. Also, got to point out. Basically, comes up and says, that. The group's like, well, what do you want? And she's like, you'll see. Yeah, dude. Yeah, it is super 2005's fucking over the top. But this is where Chloe mentioned, she's like, well, something happened in those woods, and I want to find out what. Yeah, and that's the thing. You kind of quickly find through the story that Chloe's really the only redeeming character. Roger was just a tragic character. Yeah. Jesse, he starts kind of he stops becoming like a sort of good guy character as soon as he decides to cover it up in the hotel, and then he starts rolling with I don't know. He's just not that great of a character either. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. They all go back to the woods to try to find to go find the spot that they buried her body, and it looks like they can't find her body. Right.
Well,
you know?
obviously, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 'cause it's walking around. But anyway,
Chloe,
so it's like, you know, and there's another jump scare in this scene, right?
Yeah. Chloe's the only one that sees it, but she sees like a vision of zombie Tamara.
Yeah.
But there's also something else to mention here is that Chloe like digs into the shallow grave and finds the ripped out spell, but she can't tell what the spell is quite yet. And this is where Chloe's like, maybe Patrick was right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, damn, maybe she's using it.
But then we get reintroduced to Bill.
Yeah.
You know, he's at his house enjoying a nice little glass of whiskey.
Yeah.
How's Bowie doing? Is he just sitting there whining?
Yeah, he's just.
Oh.
But yeah, so Bill's like, you know, Bill, like you said, he's enjoying his little nightcap, and Tamara just shows up at the house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in kind of a let's say a scantily clad outfit.
Yeah.
And it starts like, she's just kind of trying to play like sympathetic with him. It seems like in this scene, where she's sort of like, oh yeah, like I'm all like weirded out by like things that happen with Roger, like that, yeah. And like, it's like one of those scenes. It's interesting because she really like tries to push herself on Natoli so much, and he doesn't really cave like that much,
Yeah, they like kiss for a second, but then he kind of quickly pushes her off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like whatever kind of, I feel like she's
because she didn't touch his face yet, or you know what I mean? Like we learned more about why later. But here she could have easily just touched his face and he would have bent to her whim. But yeah, she tries kissing him. He pushes him away, and she also makes this weird line about like, I've changed and I want to be pleased, which is kind of cringy. Like when it's your teacher. But yeah, so basically he resists her, and then she mentions this line that it's only a matter of time. I know you want me. I can see how much. Like referencing his erection, which is, oh my God.
Yeah, that's fucking all right. I can see how much.
It's over the top.
Oh God. And from there, she just exits at that point and goes to the next day, presumably at the high school, and Tamara goes to see the guidance counselor Allison, who happens to be Mr. Natoli's wife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, they have this really interesting back and forth where Tamara kind of references like things like, you can't give him what I can give him, sort of stuff, including the fact that like, she like basically shakes Allison with, saying like, I know you can't get pregnant or whatever.
Yeah, you'll never give Bill children.
And just like fucking Christ.
Fucked up. Yeah.
And this like directly leads to like Allison, being freaked out and confronting Natoli.
Yeah, like how dare you, speak about our private
to
issues.
Like a student or whatever, But it's like it's really clear in this scene where you're just sort of like, dude, okay, so like Tamara is gonna have to like get Allison out of the way, and and so you're just sort of wondering like what's gonna happen, how's that gonna look? But when she confronts Natoli, she even like Tamara, or when Allison confronts Natoli, Tamara even like walks by and like sort of like like looks
peers
in conversation. And this is a really quick shot, and then it kind of cuts to like like the next scene after like he gets Natoli gets confronted. It's like Patrick gearing up for Patrick Palooza. He's handing out like invitations in the cafeteria to kids and stuff like that.
Dude, he has two super douchey lines here. So yeah, he's like handing out flyers. He brings one to Keisha and Sean, and the first line he goes, after a couple of my drink specials, I'll be hot dogging them all night. Like referring to two girls, and then Keisha calls him an ass, and he goes, hey, as long as I'm getting ass. What a fucking tool.
Dude,
and then because Sean's maybe a little down. Like at first he's kind of just hesitant with the flyer, and then Patrick mentions that he's not going to let that bitch ruin my senior year, and this is where Sean agrees. We'll be at that party.
Yeah, he all of a sudden flips and goes, "Fuck Tamara," and they do the classic like bro high five.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous.
But then then from there it's goes to this like scene where Natoli is looking for Tamara. She sees her kind of like getting all flirty or with these like goons.
Some guy,
who also the guy that she's getting flirty with or whatever also looks like he's in his mid-30s.
Yeah.
But Natoli pulls her aside and is like, "The fuck were you saying to my wife?" Basically. Yeah.
He's basically like confronts her, is angry at her, and then tells her to leave him alone. And she's like, makes some line about not quite yet or something like that.
Yeah.
And Chloe also, and then Chloe also kind of, she doesn't see them talking, but she sees Bill disheveled in his office and mentions, maybe there's something going on here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. She like sees him and she's like, something seems to be going on between Tamara and Natoli.
And then we get a real quick scene back at home where Allison now tells Bill that she's not pregnant.
Dude, it was such a quick, weird, random scene. Like, I understand that they were like what they were going for, but it was like literally like Allison walks in, kind of like it's like Natoli is all of a sudden at home doing some school like work at the table, and Allison like walks in slowly behind him and like places this pregnancy test on the counter and just goes, "I'm not pregnant."
Yeah,
and then it just goes to the next scene with Tamara. It's like, what the fuck just happened? Yeah.
It's really, it is really quick. So it's just like, yeah. But so Tamara's getting ready. And this is where, dude. Oh man, yeah. It's just real creepy because we learn. So her dad comes up, and basically he's like, "Give me a hug," and mentions he wants some affection. And then it looks like he was like about to go in to kiss her, which is super fucking creepy.
Yeah.
But she touches his face, and we learn here that her dad is like a fucking sexual pervert, like touches himself thinking about her, as like spied on her through like holes in the doors or whatever. Yeah. Basically, he's a fucking pervert. And then we also learn that he is obviously he's an alcoholic, but that's why, her mom left.
And yeah, dude, it's like immediately any like thoughts of sympathy that you thought you might have for this character were gone. Immediately gone.
Instantly.
You're just like fuck this dude. And that was like one of the interesting things is like, Tamara may be painted a bit as a villain in this movie, but really like she's surrounded by like nothing but shitty fucking people.
Yeah.
And so,
especially her dad. Yeah.
And so when he meets, like she tells him, like she touches his face and like it's like controlling him, and she goes like something like like if you love the bottle so much, like there's plenty to like
finish it.
And so you don't like you see him actually in this scene, you see him start chomping on the bottle, right?
Oh man,
you don't see where it leads, you just see him start chomping, and she goes on her way out, Tamara's like, "There's more in the fridge," or whatever.
It's fucking gnarly.
Yeah, dude. And so you just know like that dude's gonna like, I don't know, like he's just under some sort of spell, and he's just gonna be like chomping down glass bottle after glass bottle or whatever. And so like that, I mean, and I just loved that was like planted in the back of my mind right before you enter into this party sequence. Where
dude, the rap song that's playing when this party sequence, it was just the shittiest fucking rap song I've I've never heard it before. Like, where did they just make it? Like, it's so bad I can't even do it.
Know.
Like, I don't even remember their lyrics, but I wish I would have wrote them down, but it is so bad because it's basically like a song about like having a party. It's like, but it's bad. But yeah, now we jump to the party scene, and we first see Patrick, and there's these two girls that he brings some shots with, and this is where he doesn't flat out you know something, because he even mentions, he goes, it's my special mix.
Yeah.
So you know that he's like drugging these girls, and we learn about that a little more very quickly. But yeah, it's just creepy.
Exactly. It's one of those moments, like, you know, again, like sort of with the dad character, you just have enough with this character where you're just like, this dude is a fucking dude, like bigger than a douche. Like this dude is like sounds like he's like a serial rapist.
Yeah.
You know, and so you're just
which we learn later is true, but yeah.
And so, you know, that scene was just like, ugh. And
Yeah.
then, you know, then he confronts Tamara, who shows up at the party.
Right.
And he's like, this is a private party. You're not invited. Like that's going to make a fucking difference at this point, pal.
Right. But she quickly, touches his face, puts him under her spell.
Yeah.
Makes him get her a drink. And then, you know, they kind of go out and start dancing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. She like, you know, yeah, exactly. Like send him off to go get a drink, and then she goes and interacts with the rest of the goon squad.
That's right, like, real quick. That's right.
Sort of like, you know, making her presence known and shit. And they all just basically sit back and watch as like Patrick and Tamara just start bumping and grinding on the dance floor.
True. Because and Chloe brings up that she brought the page, saying it has something to do with it. But yeah, Tamara walks up, you know, goes back dancing, and then Keisha mentions she has to go to the bathroom, so she goes with Chloe, leaving Jesse and Sean alone. And they're watching Tamara and Patrick dance, and Sean's pissed about it. He's like, I don't believe this shit. So he goes over to try to talk some sense into Patrick.
Yeah, shoves Patrick out of the way.
Yeah. But the tables turn because Tamara touches him too. And then they start dancing together. And Jesse just looks on like bewildered.
Yeah, he's just like, what the fuck is going on?
And then she starts leading them to a room. So you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, because I mean, it looks like they're like almost Eiffel Tower, and her on the floor. And so she like takes them off. And you literally think like, okay, so like there's got to be some sort of like, I don't know, bloody like death heading their way or something like that. But it gets even better if you ask me. It
does, because like we just mentioned about maybe Patrick being the serial rapist, we learned that he is. Like she's like kissing them, and then she sits them on the bed together. And this is where we learned that Patrick had been taking these girls to this hotel, drugging them and fucking them. Yeah. And she's like, I want you to feel how that feels. Yeah. And
to feel how it feels to be taken advantage of.
Yeah. You think that she's gonna kill them, but no, she makes the, oh my god,
dude, I love it. She immediately she goes, so who's gonna pitch and who's gonna catch? And that's when you know that, like, you know, like that, like, you know, putting her dad under a spell to eat a bottle. She's putting these two goons under a spell to fuck each other.
And they start making out and like getting into the making out and falling back on the bed. Yeah. And then it cuts back to Jesse and Chloe and Keisha, and you know, he mentions that, you know, they went off into this room together.
And Keisha's like, the fuck, you know, and starts like storming off. She's gonna make sure no hanky pank is going down, and that's what you think. You know, she stumbles into this room,
and then the door shuts behind her.
Yeah, which is scary as fuck. And then, you know, you think like, oh shit, she's gonna find like Tamara like fucking her dude or something like that, right? Like that's what she's thinking. And then she pulls back the covers, and it's just those two super senior bros, just like macking on each other. They're still fully clothed. Don't get me wrong, they haven't gotten past second base yet, but
right. But they're making their way there.
They're heading there. They're heading for home.
Right. She sees Tamara in the bathroom and runs up to confront her, and Tamara quickly touches her. So it's like at this point she's starting to put all these different people under her spell.
Yeah, like this one
was pretty creative, because Tamara touches her and she mentions how she used to envy her. But then we learn that Keisha has an eating disorder.
Yeah, she's like, Tamara starts like unbuttoning her blouse, and it's like, you have flawless skin and all these things. She's like complimenting her, and then, like you said, like you learn that she's bulimic, and
which is sad.
It is.
Regardless if she's a shitty fucking person or not, like that's probably part of it stems from that. You know what I mean?
Totally. And so you see these like cuts of her like throwing up and stuff like that. And ultimately Tamara's fate for Keisha is pretty fucking harsh.
Or so we think. Yeah.
Or so, yeah, I guess, or so we think, is to make, Tamara fucking throw. She's like making herself do her routine. Her like she's like making herself gag, and she starts like throwing up on the floor. It's like gnarly.
It's like chunks, like bloody chunks of flesh. It looks like it is gnarly.
Exactly, dude. It goes really quickly from like vomity looking stuff to like fucking full on like blood spew and like meat chunks.
Because what I thought was going to happen in this scene, and I was wrong, is I thought that she was going to do that, and then she was going to end up like puking out like her internal organs, like her intestines and shit like that. But no, they kind of throw you a curveball here.
Yeah, because Tamara's like, it's like on top of that, then Tamara goes and is like, some, I can't remember exactly what she says, but she just alludes to like, now you go eat, and Keisha just walks out of the room past Jesse and Chloe, who are like what been trying to get in the door, and she just goes like right down to like the kitchen of the party and just starts like noshing, just starts anything she can grab, she's noshing,
And while she's doing this scene of eating, it plays this really shitty new metal song.
Yeah,
it's like amping up the situation. She's like chowing down.
Yeah,
but so Chloe and Jesse kind of grab her, and obviously they know that she's under the spell. So they grab her and they leave the party. Mm-hmm. They drive off, and this is where Chloe, it doesn't happen on screen, but we learn that Chloe, it does happen on screen. Sorry. Chloe calls Mr. Natoli to meet them and wants to tell them I'm sorry. Rewind.
Oh, no, you're good.
So off screen, she calls to Natoli to meet them. And as she's telling this to Jesse, we see Keisha in the back seat, who's still under her spell, pick up a phone and call Tamara and tell Tamara that what's going on. Yeah. That they just told Natoli, yada, yada, yada. And we're like, some shit's about to go down. And then I love how Chloe just fucking elbows Keisha to knock her out.
Yeah, dude, she just fucking throws this bow and knocks Keisha the fuck out. And that's when they discover that Keisha has been sitting in the back seat, presumably eating her fucking own fingers. Dude.
Yeah, it's pretty disturbing.
So,
but Tamara, having learned this out, she basically looks at Patrick and Sean, and she's like, "Get dressed. There's been a change of plans."
And that's what I thought was funny. It was like those two goons officially became like her goons by the end of the movie.
Totally.
Oh, God, dude. And so now it's like, so now that it's basically Tamara and Patrick and Sean, and then you have Natoli and Jesse and
because he comes in,
and Chloe, because
he comes and meets up with them, and Chloe's explaining, maybe there's some witchcraft going on, and rather than what I thought that Natoli was gonna disregard it, he actually is believing it, that there might be something going on.
Yeah, and so this leads them to heading back to Tamara's living situation, whatever the repair shop that they live above, and
to go investigate.
Yeah, dude. And I was waiting for this moment. I was like, they better give you some payoff from earlier. And
they do.
Oh, yeah, they do. Because, the three of them go looking, and they basically stumble upon Tamara's dad.
Oh, God.
Like resting against like the fridge. Yeah, with just like, he's just like sitting there, his mouth's like open, and there's blood like all over the front of him. And you see these really awesome, it's great. The special effects are so good. Yeah. Like there's like these glass shards in his neck, and like there's like they're kind of poking out of his skin, and like it looks like really, really solid, dude. Like because it looks like they're cutting him like from the inside out.
Inside, yeah, it's brutal. What I mean?
And God, and
he even pops awake.
Yeah.
To like take a last, chew a little more, take a last breath of air before he finally dies. It was really cool.
And that shot, you see all of it, like all that kind of move.
Yeah, it's
a little
brutal.
bit, and it just gets you a little bit more. It makes you cringe just a little bit more, you know.
This is where I'm saying where they could have had some shitty like CGI, but they went the practical effects route, and I applaud them for that because it looks really fucking good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've talked about it before. Like, we both prefer any time.
Of course.
Anytime practical effects are better than CGI.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand when it's like you can't pull it off, but this situation works out totally.
But it seems like to me, like these days there are times where they could pull it off, and obviously it's a lot cheaper, quicker, and easier to go the CGI route. But god damn it.
Yeah, I agree. And
but so then they go to
this leads them to going and investigating like her room and stuff like that. Where they find all of her witchy stuff, and they find one of her books.
Yeah, they also find
references
the napkin.
Yeah. Well, it was like one of her books like also referenced like the same casting spell or something like that. So it seemed like
because what happens is they find the big book. Chloe puts the page up to it, and it like magically fuses to the book and becomes revitalized again. This is where they learn that it's that she used this love binding spell, and that basically with this spell that she gets the power of whoever she touches. You know what I mean? They fall under her spell, and that not only that, but they learn that the blood of the person casting the spell must be spilled, and that they learn that due to their accident, they're the ones that spill their blood. And we also learned that her fate is bound to the one she loves. And this is where Bill realizes that, that's him, obviously, and that, that Allison's in the way of that because he loves her, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He even tries to call her, but to no avail. Like, the line's dead. And then this is where we kind of learn what's going on with Allison.
Yeah. And like up until this point, she's just been, hanging out at the house, sleeping. And then, she does get like the phone. She does get a phone call and wakes her up, I think. And then she like starts hearing sounds in the house or whatever.
Yeah. No, she doesn't. She just wakes up hearing sounds in the house.
Oh, fair enough. Oh yeah. And so, rightly so, she kind of grabs whatever sharp thing I think it's like a pair of scissors or something like that, and tries to like go and investigate what's going on in the house. And this is where you see I believe Sean creeping around through the house a little bit.
Yeah,
also
with a knife in his hand.
Yeah. And so this is where obviously like Tamara's gonna control them and make them probably kill Allison to get her out of the way.
Allison even tries to go out the door, but the knob falls off, which is hilarious. Strange. Yeah, and then this is where Patrick and Sean pop up, and they try to attack her, but
dude, she domes Sean with like a pan or a pot or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I think it's a pepper shaker.
Yeah, pepper shaker.
Yeah, she runs down into the basement. She ends up cutting her foot on fucking broken glass for some reason, which is random.
It was super random.
But so she hides. She hides. So Patrick comes down, and she tries to sneak behind Patrick to run away, and then we see Sean reemerges and comes walking down. So you're like, oh shit, she's fucked. But she turns the tables, man. She grabs a golf club, starts swinging at Patrick, and his death is pretty satisfying because he's grabbing her and chokes her, and she just stabs him in the fucking neck with the screwdriver, killing him.
Dude, I know. And like, you're right, dude. It was like, ever since you slowly learn more and more shitty things about that character, you're just like, I want to see him fucking die at this point. And so like, did that have that moment that like it was satisfying in a way.
It was.
And then and then like, then she has to just deal with the other goon, right? So Sean, she grabs like a shovel, and like Sean is kind of like trying to, confront her, and she's like knocking, trying to like scare him to get back and stuff like that. And I believe she just like shoves it straight into his fucking like abdomen.
Well, because the head falls off, And that's when he goes to approach her. But then, she just literally just shoves it into his stomach, killing him. It was great.
Yeah. Which also, if you think about it, like, oh, that would hurt so bad because that's just like a dull wood stick. So
yeah,
right. So like jamming that through. Oh,
anyway. Yeah. So she kills them. She runs upstairs to see the police that Bill had called. And they obviously investigate. But then we see Chloe, Bill, and Jesse take Keisha to the hospital. They take her there. Paramedics quickly grab her. And then Bill's with them, and Bill also goes to see Allison, who was there. So Bill goes up to see her, and then we get this quick shot back at the house where Tamara touches a police officer to learn where Allison is, right? So Bill's consoling Allison, and Allison makes mention of something that it didn't happen, but that Roger and Sean and Patrick apparently at some point tell her that Tamara wanted her dead, which never happened. So I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Then we see that Keisha is sedated and asleep, but that quickly turns because Tamara shows up at the hospital, and right as she turns up at the hospital, Keisha kind of pops awake under her spell.
Yeah, dude. Which, like, to be fair, gives, showcases like a little bit more of like Tamara's powers seem to be like on a wild scale, honestly. So, and this leads like to Mr. Natoli. Like Mr. Natoli also sees like Tamara put a security guard under her spell in the hallway, and so he takes Allison and they start running.
Yep.
And that's when like you see Chloe at like an elevator door, and Keisha like appears on the other side of the door and like attacks her.
Yeah.
Right?
And then chases her and Jesse into the kitchen in this hospital.
Yeah.
Jesse grabs a knife, and it's funny. So he grabs a knife, and Chloe makes this mention about it's, even though she's under the spell, it's still Keisha, and so even here it kind of shows some of the good side of her, because she's like makes Jesse grab a meat tenderizer instead to maybe knock Keisha out but not kill her. And Chloe grabs a frying pan, which is like, what the fuck?
Dude. Like either way, I mean, you could really fuck up somebody's life with those.
True. So Keisha ends up overpowering Chloe, brings her to the ground. She punches her like 5 times, knocking her out.
Yeah. And then goes after Jesse.
Yeah.
And Jesse almost fucking got it, dude. So when Keisha confronts Jesse, there's this great scuffle that happens. She domes him with a fucking like baking sheet.
Yeah.
And then like I was really rooting for this to happen, but like she's like grabs his hair and just starts trying to shove his head into like a fucking fryer, like an
deep
oil
fryer.
Yeah. Fryer.
That would be satisfying.
You see that it's on because like some random French fries fall into it and it start bubbling, and then she like even fucking stabs him in the gut. And like that's when I was like, okay, dude, she's got it. She's gonna stab him in the gut and like face in the fucking fryer. But luckily for Jesse, Chloe to the rescue. So
well, he does get stabbed multiple times.
I'll give him that.
But yeah. Chloe shows up and like it looks like she hits her with a 2x4, but knocks Keisha out. And then they stumble out into the hall. And Chloe's upset that Jesse, she doesn't want him to die.
Yeah.
But Jesse mentions to Chloe about like how she's a good girl and all this stuff, and how she has to stop her. And then he does die.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they were gonna have him die anyway, I think that, like you said, it would have been cool to have the fucking fryer death.
It would have been just to tease it was so like I was just like, oh, come on, give it to us. Give it to us. Just for the sake of like a cool sequence. That would have been really awesome. But
it made me think of Sleepaway Camp. There's a really good scene in the first one where there's this he's like a chef at the camp, and he's like a fucking sexual pervert. Like he at one point almost tries to he like corners this little girl in the pantry and is going to take his belt off before someone intervenes. But he dies in the coolest way. He's like on a ladder for some reason, stirring a pot of like soup and gets pushed into it. It gets like third-degree burns on his whole body and wheeled away. It's great. But yeah, the deep fryer death would have been dope.
the deep fryer death.
But that doesn't happen though.
No.
But yeah, anyway.
So Jesse's dead in the hallway,
Yes.
and Chloe's out for revenge at this point. So she goes and like shatters some the glass off of like a fireman's axe or whatever that she finds in the hospital hallway, and follows like what looks like some like bloody footprints or something. Like, I mean, they must have been Allison's because Allison stepped in that glass.
Yeah,
right.
And then we get reintroduced back to Allison and Bill are making their way up to the roof, and then
this is just a bugaboo about movies in general, and including this one. Like, why do people always run to the roof?
Yeah, no shit.
Like, where do you think that's gonna get you? Anyway,
it's a good point.
Anyway, so Bill and Allison, they make it to the roof,
and Tamara and the police officer follow. Tamara calls Allison a bitch. And,
no, not just a bitch. She goes, "Shut up, you barren bitch."
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's hilarious.
I was like,
oh
what
my
a fucking
god,
like just grinding it into the last. Oh, fuck you, Tamara.
Tamara mentions that she died for Bill, and Allison was like, "Well, I would too." And Tamara goes, "I'll be sure of that." And she makes the officer go to draw his gun, but before the officer can shoot, Chloe runs up, stabs an axe in Tamara, but it really didn't do anything. Like, Tamara really quickly just pulls it out of her back, and the fucking wound heals up.
Yeah, like Wolverine style wound healing. Okay, like that shit was wild. I was wondering if her bones were laced with adamantium too. I was like, but yeah.
Then we get something really interesting that happens next, though.
So that's when are you talking about when Tamara touches Chloe's face?
Yeah.
So she kind of like gets in front of Chloe, is like confronting her, and basically like does the face touch to mind control her. And that's where you Tamara's reading her thoughts or her memories or whatever, and she notices that Chloe's done nothing but only stand up for her, and like, so you cut back to like Tamara, and she's just like, she's just discombobulated by that information. She's just, obviously like what the fuck, and she's a little shooken up. And then all of a sudden she becomes, for the first time in the bulk of this movie, like again, like kind of vulnerable Tamara, where she's like, what's going on, what am I doing?
Because Bill even mentions that, like, this isn't you, it's the magic, like, try to remember who you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you're not, you're at, yeah. Anyway, and then there's this really cool sequence while like she's working through this, and while Bill's being like, "You're not a mindless slave, Tamara," and stuff like that. She's like, her body looks like it's decomposing.
Yeah, turns into really, like,
pretty cool.
It was cool. Yeah, she turns into like zombie Tamara.
Yeah, for just a second, and then there's like she glows for a second or whatever, and like becomes like hot Tamara again.
Yeah, and then well, before she turns into hot Tamara, though, she makes this monologue with Bill where she's like, "With a touch, it could have made you mine, but I didn't want you like that, like some mindless slave." And she says to Bill, or Bill says that, we can stop this. And this is where Tamara says she won't let it end like this, and then turns back into hot Tamara, and she's like, Tamara's dead.
And that's when that's this, and then there's this moment here where all of a sudden, like, Bill's sort of like, unreally, I mean, you kind of, I didn't see it coming, but Bill looks like he's just kind of like, he's made up his mind almost. Yeah,
because Tamara makes a line about, unless we're together, this will never end.
Yeah, and so there's this really, like, I mean, it seems like it's brief, but maybe it's not as brief as it was. Anyway, he like looks at Allison at one point, and then like kind of goes in and like kisses Tamara.
Yeah, he's like, "We'll be together forever," he says.
and then oh man, while he goes in for the kiss, you see him like grab around her shoulder, and then just launch the two of them over the fucking side of the building, dude. Whoa. And like this was where it was like, I was like, I mean, like, to end it Bill basically who's been nothing but a decent person this entire movie, is like, fuck it, dude, I'll save Allison, I'll sacrifice myself. And he fucking does, dude. He dives off the building with her, and then it shows them both just like on the pavement, you know what I mean?
To the credit of this movie, of this movie, it did a lot of things that subverted my expectations. It did a lot of things that I didn't think they were going to do. I'll give it credit for that. Because I didn't think that's how the movie was going to end. You know, I thought it was just going to be some like cliche thing where Tamara tries to get him, but they end up like overpowering her somehow. So that it was cool that it was kind of like a Greek tragedy ending in a way.
Definitely, dude. I was just thinking that. I was like, it's definitely a tragic ending. It's like there's, you know, wow. Yeah, it was just, that was an interesting moment, man.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, so then it got kind of, you know, it's showing, you know, you're kind of going through the hospital, you're getting confirmed. You see like paramedics around the bodies, and you're confirmed that they're dead by like you know, some brief dialogue there. And you know, then it's kind of kind of pans to the emergency room front, and there's like the Jeep. I don't know. I don't remember whose Jeep it was, but one of the kids' Jeeps that they were driving, that they drove there. And it like goes to the front seat or whatever. And there's like the magic book, the spell book. And it like, then you see like some hands just kind of like pop up.
Yeah.
On it, right? And like one of them is like a bloody stump of a finger.
Well, because it shows Chloe and Allison getting tended to.
Oh yeah.
And they're consoling each other. Then it goes to this first person view of someone walking like through the hospital, walking outside past all the carnage, and walks to the Jeep. And it's alluded to that it's Keisha's bandaged bloody hands picking up the book, as maybe, you know, Tamara's still controlling her or possessing her or something. Yeah. It was a cool little one of those like mid 2000 like shock endings, you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, it was definitely like, it was a cliffhanger ending, and you're just sort of like, okay, whoa. So like, I mean, I'm not, you know, by no means am I looking for a sequel to this movie, but it's really cool to leave that off just for that, like that question, you know, like, is Keisha gonna start being magical? Is Tamara still controlling her? Like, what's going on? Like,
this is one of those movies where until I saw it, like I'd always seen it like pop up on feeds, and it was always just this shitty picture of like the cover of the box art where it has like Tamara holding an axe, and I always thought it was just going to be some cheesy, and it kind of is, but this movie's actually a lot better than you would think it would be. Not saying it's a masterpiece,
no.
But it's actually a pretty fun movie just to sit and watch through when you got, you know, just to kill some time. Like
totally.
It's not the worst movie that we'll ever talk about by any means.
No, and I mean, yeah, exactly. It's definitely like a, you know, it's no A-list movie. It's definitely B or below. But it is you mentioned it earlier. It subverts your expectations at times.
Totally.
There's some really great like effects that pop up a couple of times, like you know, you don't expect some of the deaths and stuff like that. I don't know. It got creative with a familiar type of storyline.
Yeah.
You know, and I really appreciated, and it really does a solid job. Like, I think you might have mentioned like the characters just in this movie, like, for them being not the greatest actors, they really hit their character notes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I thought that was kind of fucking cool too, because it plays right into like everything about the movie. You just start disliking these characters the more you like. You know,
totally.
You're watching them. So,
yeah,
I would say, you know, Tamara is probably I'd give it, I don't know, 4, 5. I'd give it 5. Axe swings out of 7, 10. Okay. What's the scale here? What's the scale? We don't have an official scale.
No, and we've only done this a couple times, but I think I would give it, let's say, 3 Patrick special drinks out of, or 2.5 special drinks out of 5.
Perfect. 2.5 special drinks out of 5. You know, you'll be hot dogging all night on those.
Yeah, he's ridiculous.
That I really like hot dogs. If you're listening, like go watch this movie if you're enjoying, and just if you enjoy this, the theme of horrors that we kind of cover in this show, because it really hits those notes. It's worth just popping on if you haven't seen it. Honestly, it was fun.
Right.
You guys, I don't know. Again, you guys see some really kind of creative things that happen. Shockingly. So I would recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so surprised that I had never seen it before this. That was that was kind of the thing. Like you pulling this out on me, I was just like, whoa, okay, yeah, let's check it out. Because I've always, like, you mentioned the cover, where it's like just like Tamara holding an axe or whatever, and I feel like I've seen that a million times, but never clicked on it. So
yeah,
really
I've seen the movie a couple times, and it's always like it'll never be the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth choice, but like it's just it's not the worst movie you'll see, and it's not, you know what I mean? There's some cool stuff in it. So
if you're like me and you like to put on like a movie or TV or something while you're doing like homework or like working on something in particular, like this is definitely a movie to put on for that.
Totally.
Because you can glance up and you can pick up some stuff, and you can kind of like, you don't have to be invested in it if you don't want to. But
true.
Either way though, hot dogs, be invested in this podcast, listen more, and follow us on the fucking social media, because why the hell not? Fitz, you got any last words for this epi? Do we have any ideas for the next one?
No, but we always figure it out.
Yeah, we always figure it out. I like to tease. I like to tease them that we know. But do we? Maybe Bowie will pick next episode.
There we go.
All right, hot dogs.
Jesus.
We'll leave it there for you. But I hope you have a good day.
Yes, sir.